Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
In this episode of the Plant-Based Podcast, we have handed the reins over to some of Instagram's top allotment tiers. We talk about New Year's resolutions in our gossip a little bit later, so we thought this episode would be a great opportunity for you to meet some really cool growers and find out what their plans are for 2022.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I have an allotment outside Oxford, UK. It is a rather large one. It's about 380 square meters. And I run the Instagram account for Allotment for Life. That's Allotment for the number 4 life. Most winters I have a rather large project on hand, and this year's project is a redesign of my main plot area. So when I started out my no-dig allotment, I set up 8 beds and they were surrounded by grass, and I had it like that for a few years, but I slowly came to realize that having grass around my beds meant that I couldn't grow things successfully close to the edge, because the grass would steal the water and the nutrients from the vegetables I wanted to grow. So what I decided to do this time last year was to mulch the grass around, or I should say between my beds, with plastic mulch. So 12 months later, the big reveal 2 weeks ago showed that all that grass had died back and the area is now ready to use for beds. So I'm mulching and I'm rearranging my beds. The direction is changing and I'm putting in wood-shaped paths between them, and I'm super excited. I have basically increased my growing area by almost 50%, and I'm super excited what I can do with that this season. I mainly grow vegetables on my allotment, though I am every year expanding into growing more and more flowers, and now with the extra space I think I can go really quite big on the flowers this year. For me, no-dig works really well. It suits my way of growing, and if you're interested in finding out more, you can always message me on Instagram and I'll help you out. Or if you really, really want some more support, you can join my veg growing membership, which I'm relaunching this for the spring, and you can find that through my Instagram as well. My absolute favorite thing I grew last year were my melons. It's a plant that I have struggled with for years to grow, and this last season was actually going to be the last time I tried. And for some reason, even though it was quite a cool summer, I managed to get several different varieties to crop for me. Not massive yield or anything like that, but the previous years the plants had all died. So I was super happy with that, especially with a small watermelon. That is the sweetest watermelon I have ever tasted. So this year I'm growing even more varieties, and I'm going to try and really maximize and get the plants as big and as healthy as possible. Maybe even to the detriment of some growing less tomato plants, potentially. Growing melons in the UK, I would say you definitely need an undercover growing space just to be in with a chance of actually getting a fruit at the end of it. The plants will grow outside, but in order for them to produce a fruit that is edible, they need that extra warmth that undercover offers. And one of the reasons I think that had success last year is because I got a second greenhouse, and it meant that I could give the melon plants more space. I plan to sow my melon seeds by the end of March, and I'm going to treat them like little babies and keep them inside until there's no risk of frost in the greenhouse. And I, for one, cannot wait until the seed sowing starts this year. Super exciting. So that's all from me. I hope you have a great growing year. And remember, you can find me on Instagram at Allotment for Life.
Hey, I'm Rachel. You might have seen me on my Instagram, which is at rachels.allotment. I like to give all sorts of tips and tricks on growing food and flowers, just from one relative beginner to others. But if you haven't seen it, then definitely check it out. By day, I'm actually a plant scientist at university, working hard on my PhD. My research field is crop improvement and food security. And what I'm looking at in particular is a parasitic weed called striga, which is just decimating crop yields in sub-Saharan Africa. So for that project, I grow lots of rice in these lovely warm growth chambers. So on a rainy day, I can just hide away, be surrounded by sunshine, artificial sunshine, and plants while underground. But honestly, it's the best part of my job, and it's really made me realize how I want to absolutely try to incorporate growing into my future career somehow. But pretty much all my spare time is taken up by my allotment. I literally grow everything I can get my hands on, all sorts of seeds. 2021, so last year, was the first year that I had a polytunnel. So that definitely expanded my growing in terms of these new fabulous tomato varieties and cucumbers. I haven't been able to crack melons yet, but that's definitely on the to-do list. I'm going into my 4th growing season now. I'm just learning constantly, and I always say that you have to make some mistakes yourself, because it just, in the long run, it definitely makes you a better gardener. So don't worry if you make mistakes. With the allotment here in Sheffield, so the layout is like these lovely individual plots with these big privet hedges. So it's very private, but there is definitely still a good community, and you can learn a lot from people about your local soil composition, particularly bad pests. But I've totally found Instagram the best way for me personally to get help, and there's very little judgment, because everyone will admit that they've been there at some point. So the allotment itself is no dig, which I started last year, initially just to try and keep weeds at bay, but it's turned out to be something very beneficial to the whole ecosystem there. Everything seemed to grow like 10 times stronger. I had more worms everywhere. There were probably less slugs. It was less waterlogged, and it's just so simple to do. No backbreaking digging. For this year, I have expanded the beds on my plot because, a girl always needs more growing space. I would absolutely love another plot or a big garden, but realistically, until I finish this PhD, I think I'll have to just stick to what I have. There, on my allotment, there are, a lot of must-have things that I need to grow. It's first one, sunflowers. So I love them. As tall as you can get, as many heads, and having a competition with my Instagram friends is great. Then obviously essential veg. You've got broccoli, lettuce, corn, peas. I could just, go on all day naming vegetables, but you get the idea. But one thing I haven't got quite right is carrots. And I eat a lot of carrots, and so does my little dog Rosie. But for Christmas this year, I actually got a veg truck from my aunties. So I'm going to give carrots a go growing in the veg truck. So one thing I desperately need to not do is pick them so early, but I'm just one of those people that's ridiculously impatient. So I pick all the baby ones and feed them to Rosie. The best thing I have found for carrots, though, is lots of sand to amend the soil. And if they're going in a container, it's got to be filled with kind of nutrient poor soil. So I'm probably going to use spent compost from potato bags, pots, all that sort of thing. Probably have tons of potatoes popping up, but it's not the end of the world. But one super exciting thing I am doing this year from now actually is working on developing a brand new peat-free compost for a company called Bloomin' Amazing. So they produce a soil conditioner product. Well, it's a byproduct from anaerobic digestion. And I'm managing this project where I've kind of sourced all sorts of components to go into different trial mixes, and I'm setting up really quite an extensive growing trial for them. And obviously going peat-free is a big topic right now because of all the deadlines for peat to be banned for horticulture. And currently there's just not enough product available to meet the whole good quality, more sustainable peat-free market. So that's a really exciting project for me. I'm trying to document it along the way, being as transparent as possible. But yeah, it's going to be good. So check me out on Instagram if you want to find more at rachels.allotment.
Hi, I'm Mitch, and I'm on a mission to grow the most beautiful and delicious vegetables while also making space for nature. My garden is a testament to my passion for no-dig growing and companion planting. The benefits to soil health and biodiversity are wide-ranged, to say the least. In September 2020, I switched to East London for the East Coast. In my new home, I have established an organic kitchen garden based on pre-industrial farming techniques. I grow in harmony with nature by using a no-dig system. There's certainly no man-made chemicals or nasties here. I have a passion for the natural world, mycology and horticulture, specifically involving plants and fungi that can feed and heal us. Prior to growing, I was a chef with 9 years service to the stove. I hung up my apron in search of new opportunities when the current pandemic forced me to close my doors of my catering business. With my chef's methodical way of thinking and deep understanding of food, coupled with a passion for the natural world and burning desire to find sustainable solutions to problems, I have swiftly adapted to life on the land. This transformation has led me to quickly flourish amongst the online growing community. The garden is a safe haven for the local wildlife with restoration at its forefront. Everything is peat-free and totally dedicated to a regenerative style of growing, which I believe is the bare minimum I can do. We as a nation are aware of the bigger issue, and if we want to pretend and ignore and do nothing about it, we're just shifting the responsibility onto the next generation. Organic foods and farming is not merely a trend or fad, it is the future. I believe growing using a no-dig approach is one of the kindest things we can do to our planet. The soil web is a complex living system that is an integral part of our ecosystem. It is arguably the world's most valuable yet neglected resource. By leaving soil undisturbed, we allow the beneficial organisms, microbes and fungi that help plants to find their nutrients and moisture to work in peace. Not only that, not digging over, we keep carbon in the soil rather than it being converted to CO2 by oxidation through cultivation. Growing aside, I'm a keen forager and spend a lot of my free time looking for tasty wild plants and mushrooms. For me, foraging for food reconnects me to Mama Earth and allows me to enter into an altered state of consciousness, a magical and spiritual place where I can truly experience the best of who I am. I have some very exciting things planned for 2022, with my new film project Pomona being the one I'm most looking forward to. Late last year, and by complete chance, I met a professional film director and producer called Matt Pycroft. Together, we are documenting and exploring the stories of regenerative solutions and inspirational people connected to nature. Pomona's ambition is to become a solution-focused community platform to stimulate and educate. At Pomona, we believe humans are narrative creatures. We're motivated by stories, not data. Our intention is to grow a series of online channels and platforms that tell stories of growers, gardeners, farmers, scientists, and the wider community who understand the world is at risk and the way we live our lives needs to change in an engaging, exciting, and cinematic way. Our stories are honest, authentic, and well-researched, but they're also visually stunning, well-paced, and finished to an extremely high standard. If you enjoyed listening to my story and want to find out more, you can follow me on Instagram at Mitch_grows, or check out my new project on Instagram at pomona.earth, spelled POMONA.earth. I'd like to sign out with a few words of hope. The main purpose of humans is to be the caretakers of our planet. The world's future has never been more uncertain, and I strongly believe that we as a human race can help save the planet with a growing revolution. That's it from me, your boy Mitch. Safe family, stay green, peace out.
Hi, it's Lisa Marie El Khadraoui here from Lisa Marie's Kitchen Garden. I hope you're all well. Happy New Year to everyone. So, this year, 2022, the kitchen garden is going to take on some new exciting goals. We've got a new 10 by 6 metre patch being developed because we're going to be moving the cut flower beds into the kitchen garden. We're going to be taking on lots of new lovely varieties, and where last year, where we had completed BBC Gardeners World Live and our Nature's Resilience Garden, we had some amazing floral additions to that garden that we're actually going to be reproducing and putting into our own kitchen garden here in Surrey. We want to create this year a really lovely potager feel where growing edibles, herbs and flowers all sit harmoniously together. I'm a big lover of companion planting as well. So we really want to expand the kitchen garden and create a really lovely garden that just is great for mental health, for me and my family, and just add some really lovely new varieties for that. Last year I started cut flowers for the first time ever. I'd never grown them before, and I had such success with a patch 3 metres by 6 metres that I'm going to be incorporating that within the section of the kitchen garden. There's going to be some varieties that I'm going to cut from that I felt really didn't work well for me, mainly zinnias, and I'm going to be putting some newer additions in this year, such as different snapdragons as well as ruby eclipse and Mrs. Mars sunflowers. I always like to start with a colour palette and a theme, and those new romantic pinks and whites and purples and blushes are coming into the kitchen garden this year as well. We're going to be introducing a new second sweet pea arch as well, and incorporating that with beans. So we're going to be doing a lot of Blaustocker peas, we're going to be doing Belotti beans, so we're going to be running the colours of the sweet peas with the colours of the beans as well. So that's going to be a really exciting addition. We're also going to be expanding our squash beds. So I absolutely love winter and summer squash. It's a big thing for me to grow. Whilst I'm not a massive fan of growing onions and leeks and broccoli and cabbage, I really play to my strengths in what I do love to grow, and squash is one of them. So the cut flower bed, which was to the front of the kitchen garden, which I mentioned where we had our cut flowers last year, that's going to be completely regenerated now, and that's going to see all of our winter squash and sunflowers in there. So new additions such as Porcelain Princess and Roulette from Sarah Raven will be started, and we really want to focus on beautiful decorative varieties as well as really lovely juicy edibles. So I'm really excited about that too. Another thing which we're really super excited about is the Tomato Club. The Tomato Club is going to be back for a second year running. Myself and co-founder Joe Harrison from Grow with Joe run the Tomato Club, and we started it last January, and this year we're starting the club with 2,700 members, which we are really overwhelmed at the response we got last year. It's just a great community club for new beginners that want to start tomatoes, maybe don't know where to start, and just want some help and support along the way. So we've put in there lots of different problems you might come up against, help starting videos, and just lots of lovely posts of support. So you can check that out at _the Tomato Club on Instagram. I think what really worked well for me last year with certain varieties, I'm going to be taking back into the Tomato Club as well. So Barry's Crazy Cherry, Cosmic Eclipse and Autumnic Sunset were some key winners in my eyes, and I'm also going to be adding new varieties such as Black Strawberry Tomato, which I'm really, really excited about as well. So yes, I think this year my main aim and goal is to create a really lovely potager feel within the kitchen garden, introduce flowers back into the kitchen garden more so than what I'd done back in 2020 and 2021. Really just grow what I love, which is obviously tomatoes, squash, flowers, a little bit of root veg, strawberries. So really just touching base on everything that I love and having lots of fun with it as well. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Hello there, I am Lady Lindsay and I am a charity fundraiser. I like to keep fit, so I am a little bit sporty, and more importantly, I am a gardener. Gardening for me is a way in which I can really express my creativity, and I treat my allotment garden much like a canvas. I believe my creativity shows itself in my gardening style, in the daunting new challenges I set myself annually, and the desire to push the boundaries of what I do, particularly because I like to grow new and interesting varieties, or even challenging varieties that may be difficult to grow here, or in the UK, that is. And I think that some of that really stems from my former career in sport. I used to be an ambassador for Great Britain. That gave me an in-depth knowledge into nutrition as well, and the vital importance of what we eat, and the desire to get back to basics. So hence my gardening is organic, permaculture orientated, using ancient formulas as much as I possibly can. When I talk about ancient formulas, I was really interested in how the Egyptians used watercourses and how they ran watercourses. And so I explored using less water on my allotment in 2021 and created my own oyas. And those are ceramic pots that you bury underneath the soil and fill them with water once or twice a week, depending. And what you'll find is that the roots of all that you have planted around it navigate toward and attach themselves towards that pot. And so you have a self-watering system. Of course, naturally, I have water butts on the allotment as well, because, of course, plants love rainwater. I also use water magnetizers as well, and I find that this really does enhance the growth of my plants and the fruit that it produces as well. So I find that I have a really great and productive season as a result. So nothing goes to waste in my allotment garden, and anything that is not used green waste-wise, goes into a compost bin. I recycle that. Out comes this absolutely beautiful compost, which I can use at the base of every new plant that I sow, and to use as a mulch or as almost as a topsoil. But this absolutely glorious stuff makes an enormous difference to the production and health of the plants that I grow. Just another thing that is fundamental to growing on my allotment is ensuring that the seeds that I have are actually organic, non-GMO. And even when I save seeds, I know that the original seed is organic. The same again would apply to additional compost that I might need if I haven't built up enough compost, or soil conditioners or fertilizers, liquid fertilizers I generally tend to use. So this I'm really quite careful about what I actually choose, and I might take some time exploring garden suppliers and looking at them for a while and seeing what they have, and then asking them questions, engaging with them, and determining where the line of the product might have originated. So for me, that's also quite important. So when you are thinking about going organic, these are all the things that all come into play. And so if you really are going organic, go organic all out. I spent some time going through my seeds, and if I were to choose my top 2 most interesting seeds that I'm growing for 2022, the first would be a wax melon. This is the giant pullet head variety. It hails from China. Dark green, waxy skin on the outside, beautiful white flesh on the inside. It can be used to fill moon pie, make curries. It's so versatile. And its Latin name is Benincasa hispidea. Number 2 would be the Chinese red noodle, which is a long bean, and have deep red pods, really very delicious, and they keep their colour even after sautéing. And their Latin name would be Vigna unguiculata. I know there's so much more that I could talk about no-dig and how carbon neutral that way of gardening is. Also about how effective edible perennials are, how important our wildlife are for us and the environment. But if you are interested in making your own oyas, then check out my Instagram page. You will see a reel exactly how I made mine and how effective they actually are. Thank you and goodbye.
Hi there, I'm the nameless warrior against slugs who runs the Allotment Fight Club account over on Instagram. Now, the first rule of Allotment Fight Club is that we don't talk about Allotment Fight Club, but I'm prepared to make an exception for the plant-based podcast. So my account mainly focuses on my ongoing battles with slugs, snails and shed spiders at the plot, as well as my attempts to grow organic veg and flowers, with the occasional, very tastefully done music reel and garden-based meme thrown in for good measure. I'm based in Penarth, South Wales, and I have a beautiful allotment overlooking Cardiff Bay, which I had to wait 5.5 years on a waiting list to get, so I really enjoy every minute that I'm down there. It's a really stunning plot. It's on quite a steep hill on the cliffs overlooking Cardiff Bay. I can see right the way down the Bristol Channel towards the Seven Bridges on a good day. And if I turn around the other direction, I can see up towards the kind of Welsh hills all the way up towards the Brecon Beacons that way. So it really is a beautiful part of the world. In terms of my gardening plans for 2022, as an organic grower, I put a lot of focus into trying to improve the quality of my soil at the allotment. So I make my own compost, really enjoy doing that. I've got several compost bins spread all over the place at the plot. Also, as my allotment is just a few minutes away from the local beach, I collect up lots of washed up seaweed in the winter and basically kind of collect this up in big green bags and take it up to the plot, where basically I put on a really thick seaweed mulch over all my raised beds. I tried it for the first time last year. I had really fantastic results with the soil. Just let it kind of break down over the winter, let the frost get at it. And come spring, you just kind of lightly work it into the soil. And it just made lovely, really dark, crumbly soil. Loads of nutrients in it. My potatoes this year were just massive compared to previous years. Had really good results with lots of different types of veg using that approach. So that's definitely going to be part of my plans for this year, is a really thick seaweed mulch going on over winter, and hopefully get the benefits come the spring and summer. Like most of the garden on Instagram, I'm also totally in love with dahlias. I've lifted and stored a lot of my tubers from last year, so I'm hoping I'll be seeing those again in 2022. I grow lots of orange, peach and coral coloured dahlias, and if I'm pushed, I think Cornell Bronze might just be my favourite, although it's really hard to choose, to be honest. I never ever thought I'd be into growing flowers, but now I just couldn't be without them in the plot and in the garden as well. Finally, my vegetable plans for 2022 are a bit embarrassing, if I'm honest, as they mostly revolve around growing knob-shaped veg. So basically last year, I started a hashtag on Instagram called #knob-shaped-veg, which, excuse the pun, kind of grew and grew in terms of popularity. And it basically got to the point where I had hundreds of Insta gardeners tagging me into pictures of their, quite frankly, monstrous knob-shaped veg efforts and asking me to give them ratings out of 10. Anyone who got a perfect 10 got inducted into the knob-shaped veg Hall of Fame, which lives on my account. So after that, I feel a certain amount of pressure from my Instagram followers to perform and rise to the occasion in 2022. So I'm planning to grow plenty of cucumbers, courgettes, carrots, parsnips, and maybe introduce some butternut squashes this year, as they seem to be particularly appropriate for the #knob-shaped-veg category last year. Basically, if it's knob-shaped, I'm probably going to have a go at growing it this year. So good luck with your growing in 2022. And if you're brave enough, give me a follow over at Allotment Fight Club over on Instagram, or check out the #knob-shaped-veg. Good luck.
Recording in progress, Mr. Plant Geek.
Don't you come around here with your Americanisms. Anyway, it's not in progress until I click the button to accept it.
Accept it. Accepted.
How are you, Ellen Mary? Do we have to say Happy New Year, or can we skip that bit?
No, we can skip that bit if you like.
I find it so cheesy, don't you? It's like, it's one, you know, in life, I hate anything where you have to say something. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, so something like that is just like cheese central, and I'm just like, oh, I try and say anything but, you know, even if I'm like, oh, have a great year. It's
one of the reasons why I don't like Christmas, because like you have to do it.
I know.
You know what I mean? But what if I don't want to do it?
It's not optional. But you know what? You know this Christmas thing where all I do is moan about Christmas and be like, oh God, blah, blah, blah. But then I always forget that once you get to January, you know, you're always like, oh, January, kind of fresh start, let's go, blah, blah, blah. But then a couple of days or even a couple of hours into starting work in January, you're easily like, oh, I wish I was just chilling out over Christmas again. What the hell do I want? Honestly, I'm so contrary, if not even funny.
When it's not your way, it's not fun, is it?
Oh, dear.
I actually quite like January, weirdly, because I dislike Christmas so much.
Yeah.
When it's all over, I'm like, yay, back to some structure and normality, and we can all get on with work.
But there's always a weirdness about it, because I don't know. Well, I guess in this episode we are going to talk about New Year's resolutions, that kind of feel of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where January is kind of, I always far prefer February, really, because January is just full of too much expectation, you know?
I think it depends
it's like
on
the other
how
extreme.
it depends on how you take it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't set resolutions, because every day is a new day. Every single day is a new glorious day. And
but you could set resolutions on August the 20th. Why does it have to be January the 1st?
And I think resolution is also a word that immediately conjures up like pressure. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be a resolution. It could be a goal. It could just be like a change that you want to make, you know, and give it a go. As soon as you say resolution, it's a big expectation. And then when you don't meet that expectation, you feel pressure to avoid it yourself that you haven't done it. And, you know, January is a funny old month after Christmas. So sometimes we set unrealistic expectations. So
but you know what, Ellen? I think the tide has really turned with resolutions. This year, more people have been kind of a bit more like, oh, don't really need it. And even I saw a great piece in a magazine. What was it? Oh, I can't remember where it was, but it was basically talking about your best resolution is just kind of to accept and appreciate how you are and what you do. And kind of perhaps that's not even so bad. Do you know what I mean? And why? I don't know. Like, of course, if there's something that's not good for you, then it's good to change that. But it's, you know, I think people aim too high as well. This is almost getting to that territory where I talk about my 5-year plan. When someone asks me if I've got a 5-year plan, and I'm like, well, no, I hate that sort of thing, because that just means like you're not going to think about it until 4 years, 10 months, you know, because we always leave homework to the last minute, don't we?
Well, we definitely do, that's for sure.
Just so rubbishy to think along those lines. So I don't like New Year's resolutions. I don't like 5-year plans. And I also don't like fresh tomatoes.
Well, you're going for it today, aren't you? You've got the January blues. I
was wondering, I might, but it's hard to do because my life's not so structured that I could do it this way. But I was thinking it would be really cool to learn one new skill a week.
A week?
Well, I don't know. Is that, yeah?
It depends on what kind of skills you mean. Like, you can't have barista training every single week, Michael.
Well, you could learn a little thing each week. I don't know, or maybe once a month or something. But I've knocked off 2 in a week now because I've been knitting as well, Ellen.
Oh my gosh, tell me about this knitting thing. What's happening here?
But do you know what, like, Ellen? It's funny because as you get old, like, you feel like your capacity to learn is less. Like, I feel less patient, and I'm kind of like, oh, well, that's too difficult. But actually, when you sit down and you concentrate, and I think you'll relate to this a lot because you're equally as impatient and irritating as I, where you want to understand something straight away.
Yeah.
To do it straight away, and actually no, it might take you more than one time to do it, and what's to say that when you were young you don't pick up stuff straight away anyway. So I was just being more patient with myself, and next thing I knew, I knitted half a scarf.
That's really, really cool. I'm super impressed that you have actually found something that forces you to be patient. Like, I honestly think that only thing that I'm patient with is gardening. So, like, it's the only thing that chills me out, and I'm so patient. Like, I don't rush to sow seeds. I don't rush to make things grow. Like, I love the seasons. Do you know what I mean? I don't go, oh, it's winter, I can't wait for spring. I love spring, but also, like, we need winter. And so I'm kind of like very chill about nature and gardening, but just about everything else I have no patience for, like none. If there's a course, so I'd been doing this wellness course, I wanted to know their end before the beginning. Like, I just wanted to know. Like, I had questions in my mind and I just wanted the answers now. I didn't want to go through the process of it.
Of what course? Sorry?
Wellness. A wellness course, so I can provide wellness coaching.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So, that's why it was really, I did this barista training as a guest at Paddy and Scott's yesterday, and it was great because it was a one-on-one. And that meant that it was just a big kind of gossip session about coffee. So I could ask questions along the way. And if you were in a kind of group where other people that you wouldn't necessarily know, you wouldn't have that freedom in a way. So it was really nice to have that. And of course, then you can bounce around and do stuff in different order and kind of ask. Yeah, so that was really cool, actually. But I want to touch on something you said about the patience thing and not kind of rushing to do stuff. Because as you know, I've just planted my bulbs, which is, oh my God, the textbooks wouldn't tell you that, but it's fine, absolutely fine. But what was it? I can't remember what we said now. But there was a tiny conversation I had this morning as I was waking up with. Oh damn it! I can't remember what they're called now.
This is age in action.
No, oh my God, don't! No, I'm embarrassed.
Brilliant.
What is this? Hey, we chose them as the winners for this thing the other day, the Haydens, the grown.
At Home with the Haydens.
What is it called?
At Home with the Haydens.
All right, cool. God, I'm really embarrassed now.
Yeah, at home with the Haydens.
Oh, I can't find it now. But anyway, we had a little mini conversation about like how people are kind of just like always feeling like they're like newbies to the gardening world, are always feeling like they're not good enough or letting down, because like there's so much pressure of like, oh, you must sow this by now, or you must have planted your bulbs by now. And I think that's really off-putting for the new people. And we had this really cool little conversation about it. And that's just, yeah, that really got me thinking when you just said that as well. So
sorry,
anyway.
it's actually, I got it wrong too. It's homegrown with the Haydens.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I don't always see that world of that competitiveness. So I know that it is out there. So yeah, I think that would be a good resolution. Just kind of do things at your own pace, your own time. And there's no right or wrong way of doing anything either, is there, Ellen?
No, there isn't. Like, obviously, things will grow as they grow. Like, I've often planted things that the theory would suggest otherwise, dependent on the soil or the aspect or whatever, and they've always been fine. You might have more success if you follow the theory, but then you don't learn it. Like, the experimentation is part of the fun of gardening, you know.
Oh, totally.
So
but,
now
it got me thinking, and I said that's why I don't really like to do any kind of how-to videos or kind of stuff like that, because I don't think people need another person bossing them around, you know.
No one wants to
be to say, but that's also maybe I'm a bit modest with my kind of skill or knowledge, but you know, I don't necessarily feel like, you know, I would be good enough to tell someone how to do something. Do you know what I mean? Because I just do something my own way. And, you know, Josh has been here helping out with the garden and stuff. And he planted the bulbs earlier this week. And the way that I'm telling him to plant bulbs is not the way that the books would tell you how to plant bulbs. So it's kind of like, oh.
Well, I'm intrigued. I want to know. How did you tell him how to plant bulbs?
But it terrifies me because it's like, because I'm doing it more, well, I'll tell you how I was saying to do it. Like, I like my bulbs to be like, I'm not going to plant them one here, 2-inch distance, one there, 2-inch distance, one there. So that is what not the books would tell you, but what the instructions to plant would tell you, because it's kind of like official. But if you have a tulip there and a tulip there and then one there, you've actually got a really sparse, crappy looking border. So what we do? So I would rather plant in clumps. And because I'm planting in clumps, I want to make life easy for myself. I'm not going to dig 10 holes. So I'm going to dig like one large hole, as if I'm planting like a big shrub from a 4-litre pot, something like that. And then that is my hole to put all of those bulbs in. Do you see what I mean? So
there's so many different ways, you know.
That's not the way that they would want to tell you in the books, etc. And it's probably not the way that they're being taught on the college course. So, like, he's coming here on a Monday, and I'm telling him completely different stuff to what happened on the. No, but
I think, like, with the theory of what they're telling you, it's to give you best practice. But then once you get out in there doing it, you can experiment and find loads of other ways that work.
Apprenticeships are about learning the real world, isn't it? So
exactly.
Maybe not. And so the other thing that I do is I like to plant them right next to the pathway as well. And they wouldn't want you to do that in the textbooks. But I love the effect. And I love plants billowing over the path. And even if it means that's tulip foliage that ends up getting trodden on, I don't mind, because I love that, how they just fall and that softens the edge. But that's not necessarily how they would want you to plant it. Or even the other thing, we've got I've got the Senecio angel wings, with this lovely silver foliage. And so we're planting tulip brown sugar. That's going to look so sexy coming through the foliage. So I'm like, kind of get in amongst that plant. Let's put some bulbs in between where that plant is. Let's just break the rules, for God's sake.
Michael, your enthusiasm is infectious. Seriously. I think it's awesome. However, I've got one thing to say to you. Why is Josh planting your bulbs and not you?
I'm a busy mum. But Ellen, what people forget is, like, of course, I'm a gardener. I'm a horticulturist, blah, blah. But when you, like, same for you, when you get to this kind of like level of the work that you're doing and stuff, if someone wants me to, go on TV, write a book, create this content, like all of that stuff. Where's the time to then actually do your garden? You actually lose that time, which is horrible. So that's why he's here, kind of helping me get on top of the stuff. But I'm kind of learning him. That's the wrong way to say it. He's learning from me as he goes along as well. And it's actually helping him with his course because he needs to kind of have borders to plant up, etc. But for me, I was never getting around to these jobs. So it's been an absolute godsend. And I guess to be fair, this autumn's been worse because I had the book to write as well. And, Ellen, can we have half a minute on edits? Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Michael, I haven't really...
They're fun, but they take a long time. It's like almost an hour a spread. And I'm like... And I was just saying to my partner earlier, I really hate anything that takes a lot of time. And but I worked out that's not because I'm impatient. It's because I get nervous of knowing how to divide that time. I feel much more comfortable dividing time of small things than I do bigger tasks.
Hang on.
I worry I won't have the time.
Hang on. This is all wrong. You're basically saying that you need to do more gardening. That's what you're saying. You need some chill time. You need to get outside and get your hands dirty.
Yeah, but I haven't got time.
Like, I don't have time, but I fit it in somehow. Like all the allotment, I don't have a big garden. Like I only have a patio garden and a little front garden, so that's no big deal. But the allotment takes quite a lot of time. But I sometimes find when I'm overwrought with work, I go to the allotment instead. Like I literally put the work down, even though it feels like there's no time to do that.
Does your inner compass take you there?
And then I get back home and I feel like I've reset a bit, and then I can get on with work, and I feel a bit more productive doing it that way as well. But I will agree with you on book edits, that is for sure, because book edits are a nightmare.
Oh, definitely. But I think but also I think where like my garden has become a bit of a showcase is then something that you almost can't go at your own pace because it needs to then be looking as good as, so like if I'm going to be just pottering, it's not going to get me anywhere. So
but it's like, it's not, oh my gosh, Michael, this is all wrong. Everything you're saying, like I really want to shout at you now. Oh my gosh. Like the point of gardening is that you're just enjoying it. You're pottering, you're chilling out, you're calming yourself down.
But like I think there's a different pressure when it's like you're, I don't know, if your garden is in a showcase, that's not pottering. That's like creating.
Why is your garden a showcase? Because you use it on socials and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can show the real garden too. It doesn't have to be the perfect showcase. You can be like,
I totally know what you say, but it kind of needs to meet somewhere in the middle, I guess, doesn't it? I don't know.
Anyway, I'm feeling a lot of energy from you today. Like you're very buoyant today.
You know what I find hard as well, and this is probably something that then doesn't give me the time to do that because I'm kind of working so much in the day, obviously with the book edits, the TV, the content stuff. Usually I would use the evening to do different bits of work. Of course, you can't do the gardening in the evening because it's dark, but also like in the evening, like I can't really do paperwork because when it gets dark, it just pulls you down, doesn't it? And it's not in a depressing way, but just like I don't know, all you want to do is be under a blanket with Pringles, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just like in the evening, I just can't get that same enthusiasm to work in the evening that I could get in the spring or kind of autumn. What are you like with that?
We're so similar in so many ways, but this podcast has shown our differences massively then.
Yeah?
Because in the day, all I want to do is be outside. Like I want to be in a garden, gardening myself or walking or whatever, out. And I have battled with that for literally years because I felt guilty because I should be inside doing my work. But actually, I come alive at night. I'm a complete night owl. So at night time, I'm like wide awake and I'm kind of doing all my admin. I do lots of my articles and copy I do in the evening, no matter what time of year it is. In the dark, I sit on the sofa, I might have the TV on and I can crack out tons of work. So I'm like opposite. So I'm out in the day and then I do a lot of my work kind of late afternoon, evening.
Yeah, I can't in the winter. It's just, I don't know, there's something the low light and everything, I just couldn't concentrate. But definitely other times a year, like spring, summer, autumn, I'm really happy to like work into the evening in that way. And there, of course, I'm going out around in the day. But yeah, just like in this winter, because there's just been so much to do in the day. And if I'm not careful, Ellen, if I'm going outdoors or I'm going to see a gardener or I'm going to nurseries, then I won't, I've disciplined myself as well. And because I know that once the sun's down, I've run out of time. It's just, I don't know. It's all been very complex, this time management situation.
It really sounds like it. It really does. But I have to ask you another thing. So obviously your partner is there with you at the moment, and I'm with my hubby here at the moment. But when we are not together, like when I'm in England and he's in the US, I get so much more work done.
Yeah, that's different because you're unlikely to be doing your work in the evening when you're both there because, of course, you're going to spend time together, right?
Yeah.
Like, there might be the odd time, but like ordinarily you wouldn't. Yeah, that's the same. So
it makes a big difference.
I blame them for the deadlines. Right?
Yeah, exactly. My husband's on holiday this week, so he has a really extended Christmas break, so he doesn't go back until next Monday. And I said to him this morning, do you know what? I find it really annoying when you're on holiday because I've got work to do, and like you're just like here and around, and it's distracting, and you feel
like you want to like hang out and do something, or like I don't know what's going on, but for some reason he's just on the sofa watching YouTube. Should be working.
To be fair, you've completely grassed him up.
Not grassed him up, but so like I'm probably like, I don't know, I'm going to gravitate towards also being on the sofa watching YouTube rather than doing work because like you kind of, I don't know, that's that gravitating towards spending time together, isn't it? So
and it does make a difference when you do.
Also, Ellen, the thing that you don't realise like how sorry, I'm not being sympathy card, but like because I work a lot of weekends as well, that makes it very weird in the week because you got no idea if you should be working or doing this, and also when it comes to then doing the gardening and stuff, it's like because that's also my job. That's kind of like, well, if I was doing that, that wouldn't really be kind of time out. Do you know what I mean? It's very weird.
You have to switch off from the fact.
I know.
The allotment is a little bit similar to that, but I switch that off. The fact that I do use it for photographs and articles and whatnot and experimenting, growing things that I can then write about, I switch it off. Like I garden for my enjoyment and that's it. And if I wasn't writing or if I wasn't doing social media or if I wasn't doing the work that I was doing, I would still garden as I am gardening. Do you know what I mean? You have to just turn it off completely.
It's such a funny juxta that it puts us in.
It is. It is weird. Anyway, talking about like resolutions that we're not making, what have you got coming up like this year? Like what's happening for you?
I want to start selling like some seeds.
That's exciting. Like what?
I'm so bad at like keeping secrets or not telling people. Well, I don't know. I've just been toying with it and stuff. And I think like, especially because I've got the the book is coming out later this year. And there's a few kind of like really strange. And I think what kind of boosted me to do this was the success of the streptocarpus that I sold. The seeds on eBay and otherwise. And I think there's a nice market for it. And there are so many seeds of plants. Well, plants are fascinating anyway. But there are some really everyday plants that do really cool things. And I think once we highlight that to people, they're not that difficult to grow and we can kind of help people on that journey. I think people will buy them as well. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling pumped for that. Obviously, oh my God, I had this really freaky moment. There's a fly on my screen and I thought the cursor was moving around. I thought you'd hacked into my computer. I don't know, it just crossed my mind. I was like, what?
You're so suspicious.
I know, honestly. I'm living on a knife edge, Ellen. Like a coiled spring.
You seem like it today, that is for sure.
So do that. Obviously kind of develop different things like with the TV work, the content work, kind of got a few cool deals coming along with those. But like I always say, when like there's no 5-year plan or anything because I enjoy everything day to day. And I think that's what makes you more reactive and more open to opportunities as they come up as well. So I'm going to just completely still be like that, and just kind of move along at my own pace, really.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree. Like I barely ever, I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't even have a 1-year plan. I have like ideas in my mind all of the time of what I want to do and what I'm going to do. But sometimes they don't work out. Sometimes they do.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing actually, Ellen, because with that 5-year plan, you can almost like be working towards something. And if it happens to not be the best thing to do, sometimes you get a bit stubborn and you kind of still work towards it because it was in your plan. But I think kind of, I think being at Thompson & Morgan with my old boss, Paul, he really taught me to just be reactive and kind of like, if that isn't working down that route, then kind of come out of that passageway and then go into that one. You know, it's not, you don't have to carry on in that direction. I think that makes you really reactive.
And also,
and a lot of people don't do that. They feel like obliged to, you know, if fair enough, if you spent like 80% of time on it, then you might feel that way. But if you're kind of only just into it, then it's no harm to back out and do something different. It's not anything to be ashamed of either.
I know, and I think society has made us feel a little bit like we have to go along the same track all of the time, every year. We have to follow what, you know, what the media says you should be doing, or what expectations of your parents are, or whatever. You can change track a million times if you want to. Change careers, just change what you're doing day to day. You don't have to wait until the new year. You don't have to wait for someone's validation. Just do it.
Isn't it weird that humans, like the thing that affects us the most is kind of the fact that we are programmed to consider what other people think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not to be worried, but that we do consider what other people think. If you took that away, imagine the potential.
I wonder what you would do if you didn't think about what other people thought of you.
Because it gets you. It gets you in ways you just don't expect as well. You know, you can be the most confident person and you'll still be affected by that in some way or another. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
It is very weird.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I'm going to be providing wellness coaching this year.
Yeah, tell me about this.
Which I'm really excited about. That was one thing I had kind of planned, but not. So I wanted to do it for ages. And then I saw a course come up, I don't know, over a year or so ago now. And I started it and it's been really, really good. So it's been good for me as well. But like wellness coaching is like a holistic look at your life. So it could be anything to do with like your career or your nutrition or whatever it is that's bugging you. And it's not therapy in any way. But my one is going to be a bit different because it is going to be focused on like gardening and nature a lot. So anyone who comes to me for wellness coaching will get a whole lot of gardening and nature involved in it too, and no bull either. Like there's none of this messing around of you must do this or you must say this or and all of the buzzwords. Like let's just get into it. What's the issue? What do you want to do about it? Let's make that happen. Bam.
That's really cool. And it's good, like sometimes with those sort of things you can sit around thinking about it for a long time, but sometimes you need to start to work on a project and it falls into place as you work on it. It doesn't always fall into place first. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. So actually, it was really weird.
What you're talking about,
I was just thinking about doing it. I said I was going to do it, all of that, finished it, and then I was kind of thinking, well, how am I going to actually provide it, like via Zoom or whatever? And someone contacted me from a platform which is called VOF Space, which is a brand new platform, like online, and it's been designed by a really lovely guy called Josh Woods, who basically he was a college athlete. He had a knee injury. He couldn't carry on being an American footballer, and he came up with this idea for this new platform. And so I'm supporting him with doing that by being on there and being able to hold like the wellness sessions on VOF Space. So and that all kind of happened at the same time. I hadn't been looking for it. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't been doing anything. It was just all in my
good
head.
And reactive, and you're open to stuff.
And it all kind of just transpired, and I love it how things like that happen.
Changing, evolving. Yeah,
definitely. Really good. So anyway, that's awesome news. But I want you to tell me what you've got coming up next week, which is really close by to where I live.
Oh, God, yeah. Sorry, I think I missed my cue earlier.
Yeah, you did.
Next week. So next week, like this week's been fairly clear, but next week is like, you know, when you got one of those weeks where you're then here and there, and like when you get to the end of the week, you're always like, it feels like a huge achievement because there's been so many variables. So I've got like the world and his wife amount of meetings. I don't know, like 15 meetings or something like that. I did a talk in Felixstowe, Weird and Wacky Plant Show, which is cool. I did another talk for Garden Media Guild, actually.
Yeah.
It must be on Wednesday, which is kind of how to... I don't know what it is, really. Well, I haven't I'll have built it by the time this episode goes out, don't worry. But I've done similar ones in the past. It's kind of like, it's almost like talking about the way that I work and the kind of I don't know how to say it without being arrogant, really. But I don't know, like the secret to my success. That sounds so wanky. But
no, that's really nice. But I'm going to give you a tip for that talk. I'm going to give you a little tip for that talk. Probably don't tell everyone at the Garden Media Guild that you don't actually do your garden. Probably don't do that.
But what I'm doing, I'm supporting the stars of tomorrow, Ellen.
You are.
Exactly. No, so talk about that, and obviously talking about kind of social media, how to get the best of that, but also just the way that I work and stuff as well, which is like some stuff that seems obvious, but I think sometimes it's nice to have the refresher. So yeah, but
it's not obvious to everyone. It's obvious to you because you do it all of the time. But I mean, I quite often
go on.
I quite often get messages, especially on Instagram, saying, "Oh, I really want to do what you're doing. Like, you've turned this into a career. How do you do that? How do I do that?" I get those questions all the time, and I think it's obvious. I think it's because I'm doing it all the time. I think that it's obvious, but it isn't. It isn't obvious, and sometimes people just want that support. So I'm sure that will be
a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe there's too much fear of failure that stops people trying the stuff.
And also going back to what we were just saying, it's about worrying about putting yourself out there and what people will think of you and validation. That definitely comes into it. Whereas I think you and I are very much a bit like, well, we'll just do what
I've always got this fear. And I said to Josh the other day, like, if you've got friends on social media who will take the mick when you put posts out there, or they always comment and stuff, you need to just hide your posts from them or block them, because when we're now using social media, this is to progress our careers. This is our showcase. This is not now, an area for friends. Do you know what I mean? Which sounds really hard, but like if you've got someone who's always going to be commenting or always saying something that's clever, it's just kind of like just not that useful.
Yeah, it's not. They're not personal accounts.
I message you is something that's clever, but hopefully in a different way. I'm always the one that says something really deadpan and stupid on your comments. Sorry.
I know. What did you say to me the other day? I was like, gosh, that's a good one.
But you know where I'm coming from, don't you? It's like, the ones that are like, you put up another selfie. It's like, who the hell cares?
Yeah, it's honestly a professional account. Like,
so yeah, you have to get over that.
If you want a personal account, have a personal account, keep it private, just let your friends on it, but people have to understand that this is work. This is our work,
Definitely.
And thankfully, most of my friends are really supportive and really, really good. But there's been the odd comment for sure on mine, and I've been like, oh, I wouldn't have given away that information. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't talk about that. So why would you talk about that on here? So
that's dumb. And so you've got to kind of regulate that. Yeah. But also what I would say, another thing that I'm going to talk to people about is keep yourself full. Like, keep yourself full of projects, stuff bubbling away, kind of, stuff that's coming up or happening or this. And that means that when you are, running, maybe you put in a quote for some work and it doesn't get accepted and you've got rejection and kind of like, this is normal in our career to have a lot of rejection, with media and stuff. Yeah. That when you're more full, you get over it so much quicker. So that's kind of like another one of my like top tips. Keep your activity full all the time, and then I it gives me such a short memory. Like if someone turned me down for work, even on Monday this week, I wouldn't even remember it now. But a lot of people, because they don't fill themselves with as many things, they're then brewing about this thing and kind of turning it over and over in their heads, and it's kind of like, no, just move on to the next thing, because that's kind of holding you up, stopping you moving forward.
Yeah, because it's quite hard for people to take rejection. And I think in the beginning, I would have felt the same.
You have to harden to it.
But you do. You just, like, you get no's all the time. I've already had no's this year. Like, and from stuff that was starting to bubble away from last year. And at first you're like, oh, okay, didn't get that. But then literally 5 minutes later, you're on to the next thing. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm over that now already.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, this is probably the wrong way to do it, because I don't know if that means I'm hardened to it. It just means that I distract myself with the next thing. So, like, I'm just not sat around worrying about it.
I do think that you're in a position where you have a lot of stuff because you're well known. You've been doing this for a long time. You're on TV, so people do come to you with work. So it is probably a bit harder for those that haven't built that kind of established brand at up just yet. Do you know what I mean? So they might get more rejections to begin with, and it can feel, you can get a bit defeated about that. But all I would say to anyone is just keep going. Like when I very first started doing this, whatever year it was now, 2008, I don't really know. I would have had tons of no's for writing in magazines, no's for TV, no. You have to just keep on going.
Yeah. And I think it's good for people to know that even now, at the level or whatever that we are now, I always hate to say this because I see myself same as anyone, but like we still get lots of people say no to us.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that so it's not like suddenly because you get to a certain status that everyone says yes. No is something you always have to deal with. Can I get on BBC Morning Live? No, I can't. I want to, but I keep having no.
I keep trying to get on the Ellen show, but that's not happening either.
Oh, no, you think it'd be a nice fit as well. The other one I want to get on is this Titchmarsh one on Saturday.
Right.
But
you can't get on them all.
I know. But so I'm dealing with a lot of rejection, even though I'm doing a lot of things, so.
Yeah, I know.
And then on Thursday, I'm doing a talk for a garden in the US, which you might know it actually. It's in North Carolina. It's called Winghaven. And it's Weird and Wacky Plant Show. We're doing it. We just had a rehearsal, actually. They're lovely people. You should go and visit there. Is it nearby?
I don't have the words to express what I felt when I saw you doing a talk at Winghaven. It was like a mix of totally excited and like, wow, this is amazing. And also you absolute ish bag.
Do you know what, though? I really, this could sound really, stupid and arrogant, but when you get a talk booking and, especially now they're virtual, you don't necessarily register where it is. I knew it was in the US. In my head, I knew it was kind of on the east side, one of the smaller states, but I didn't quite marry that up with the fact that it was North Carolina, where you live. And Charlotte, which is the town that you live in. And this garden's a few blocks away, right?
So Winghaven, I'm just going to tell you a story right from the very beginning, very quickly.
All right.
The very first time I visited Charlotte was maybe 5 years ago. It was before we were even planning on moving here. Hubster was here to work in the office. I came with him. He's working all day and I'm going about touring gardens. I had a wonderful time.
Fannying about,
yeah. Anyway, I found this garden online. I was like, right, I want to go for a walk. So is there a garden where I can walk to rather than Ubering my way around at that time? And there was
nobody walks in the US, though. Did you not realise that then?
Nobody walks apart from me. I'm like the mad English woman.
Yeah.
So I found this little garden called Winghaven. I was like, well, it's a shot in the dark. Who knows? It looks like someone's back garden, basically. I'll go and have a look. Anyway, I got there and it was the most magical place. It's my most favourite garden in the whole world. And this is what shocked me about it. Well, the first time I went there was the first time I saw a hummingbird. So I always have that lovely memory because they're one of my favourite birds ever. And anyway, they have a movie room, and in the movie room was a big screen, and it was all about the story of Elizabeth Lawrence, who built this garden, and she was like the first person to graduate from college here with first female to graduate with a landscape degree, and she's literally transformed a whole neighbourhood. So she's like my hero, and I have written about her in numerous articles in magazines. When people interview me and ask me where's my favourite garden, I'm like, oh, it's Winghaven. I've posted photographs on Instagram, I put them on stories, I've done videos, and you were literally like, Winghaven? What? I didn't know that was near you. What? Where have you been?
I don't look at your posts. I'm too busy trying to think of a witty retort.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, I haven't decided if I'm going to, because you can go and watch talks in their movie room. So if I'm going to go and actually watch them in there or from home, perhaps. Or not at all.
What?
Or not at all. I might not watch you at all.
But that's just so funny when you found out. Oh dear.
I
Honestly,
found out because they send a newsletter, and I'm a member of the garden, and so they sent me a newsletter, just a weekly roundup, whatever. And at the top of the newsletter was the first in the lecture series this year, Michael Perry Weird and Wacky Plants. I was like, what the actual F? How did you get in there? Of all the gardens in all of the world.
Well, I gave you an intro now, so the ball's in your court.
But I've already been emailing them. So then you sent me an intro and I've already been emailing them. And then you were like, you could have said thanks. And I was like, you absolute
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh dear. But even so, you could have said thanks.
Michael Perry, this was just before Christmas. I hadn't even read all of them. I hadn't even answered all my emails.
Well,
I would always say thanks. You know that. We're a team.
That's not professional to not reply to emails.
I reply to them when I get round to replying to them.
But there could be an opportunity sitting there in the gutter.
She was flipping on Christmas break. She only got back like yesterday or the day. Chill out.
How do you run your emails anyway? Like
very badly.
Wow, mine is sort of like a to-do list, and I like maybe once a week I'll deal with stuff as is sort of there if I know it needs doing, but then kind of maybe a couple times a week I'll do like a deep dive.
I think
that's always kind of worked that way, and that actually, because I keep it as a sort of to-do list, that almost like surprises people, because sometimes you can follow up on stuff where people haven't expected you to, because I'm like, that's part of my deep dive.
I've got to do it because it's on my list. I think
you need a deep dive, darling.
Kind of similar to that. As they come in, I tend to answer anything urgent pretty much daily. But I did have a massive backlog just before Christmas. I was so tired and done in. And then we were traveling to my sister's, and I was like, it's just going to have to wait. It has to wait. Usually, like daily, but then I will go in maybe once a week or so, and I will get into the nitty gritty of what's there. And anything that like I've read but I haven't dealt with yet, I just leave that as unread, and that's that really.
But you run off a lot of reminders like me as well, yeah?
Reminders everywhere.
Yeah. So this is like part of what I'll put in my presentation and for Garden Media Guild. It seems so obvious, but like if you said, I'll get back to you by Tuesday, like I'll have a reminder telling me to go back to them on Tuesday. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just rely on trying to remember that, but that's
I would never remember that anyway.
I don't think that's
in the meantime,
I don't think that's particularly having a bad memory, but it's just kind of like a more efficient way of dealing with it, really.
Well, when you've got a lot on, as well
then also it then doesn't pop up until you need to know about it, so it almost keeps your brain clear.
Yeah.
But then it reminds you at the point where it needs to.
Yeah, I quite agree, Michael. I run my garden similarly.
Have you finished your makeup yet?
No.
Oh.
I'm going to the University of North Carolina Charlotte Botanic Garden when we've done this.
Yeah? Oh, cool. That's nice.
It's amazing. It's really nice. And I've been a few times, and I don't know if you remember when we've done our solo podcasts for the plant-based podcast.
Yes.
I interviewed Jeff, who is the... Gilman, I think, if I remember correctly. He's like the general director, garden guy there, horticulturalist, and I interviewed him, and he gave me a durian sweet, which was absolutely vile while we were recording the podcast, and that taste was in my mouth like all day. I could not get rid of it. Anyway, there's like a greenhouse there, and they have really cool like orchids and plants growing in there, but it's been closed for all of COVID, and it's just opened, so I'm going in there today. Yes.
That's mad how long it was closed for. Jesus.
It's quite small, it's not that big, and we're still like on a mask mandate here and stuff, and so I think they just decided to keep it closed. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice, Ellen. Well, I totally got my eye on coming to see you soon.
Yeah, you have to come when the carnivorous plants are out. No, I'm not.
Oh my God, wouldn't it be funny and hilarious if like I just turned up one day?
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be mad, wouldn't it? Do people still do that these days? Because like in the old days, you might have done that to someone.
I think, because you didn't have phones and stuff, so you just would. But now everyone expects to know, don't they? You can just text them.
Well, even to go pop around someone's house, like in the same town, you would definitely be messaging first, wouldn't you? There's no spontaneity for that anymore, which is good, really, because spontaneity is a bit creepy.
I will be back in the UK anyway, week after next, only for
spoiler
a very, very, very short period to do some adulting things.
God.
Yeah, and also go to the allotment. So I'm only back for just under 2 weeks, and then I'm back here, and then I come back to the UK in March, and that's when I'll be there till October, pretty much.
Oh my God! March to what? Do you know? No. All right. I like to write these things down, Ellen.
I know, sorry, I don't know. I'm not really sure at this moment.
Cool.com.
But I'm really looking forward to getting down the allotment. I cannot wait.
You really?
Anyway, I just really think we should just give a mention to the episode that we've just put out. We've had some really awesome contributors talking about their allotment plans. So thank you so much to everyone who's contributed to that as well. It's just really cool hearing what other people are planning to do, gardening and growing their own throughout the year. It gives you loads of ideas, doesn't it? Gives you a bit of inspiration to grow some stuff yourself. And so follow all of those who've contributed. Thank you so much.
And just trying different things as well. So I'll be growing lots of seeds, testing out. I think houseplants from seed is going to be maybe one of the next trend.
How long will it take a peace lily to germinate and grow, do you know? Because I've got tons of seeds from a peace lily.
Have you? Well, first up, I'm not sure how easy they are to germinate.
No, me neither. That's why I wondered.
I don't know oodles about growing too many houseplants from seeds, so it's something really cool to look into. Obviously, the really simple stuff like coleus and, I don't know why people don't grow cacti and succulents from seed more. Obviously, they're slow, but they're really fun to grow, and they're really interesting too. And when it's one of the ones I want to try and get seed of is my my dancing plant. That was really quite easy to grow from seed, as was sparmania as well. Obviously there's loads of different things you can grow. So how's
your dancing plant doing?
All right, it's like covered in some rubbishy rust or something, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to grow an exotic Asian plant in an office in Ipswich. So it's already got the odds against it, but it's all right. Yeah.
Good.
It might need a bit more humidity. It's definitely got quite woody. The plant's quite established. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. In the UK,
anyway.
Pardon?
Thank you for asking.
Oh, wow. It's a total pleasure since we're on a gardening podcast, and so we should be talking about plants. I am going to grow an avocado here. Obviously, in the UK, you can grow them, you get the foliage, but getting an avocado is rare to ever, and it takes years as well, even if you do get that far. But I'm wondering if with the climate here, that might be a bit easier, perhaps. So I'm going to have a go here.
I don't think they'll fruit when they're so small or young, will they? Because you'd have it in a container, right?
Oh, yeah, it won't fruit for about 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, but it'll become bigger. And
it will become bigger, yeah. So I think I'm in more of a chance to have a bigger, avocado.
Yeah. You could grow a lot of different exotic stuff like that.
The thing is, right, this is a constant conundrum in my mind. I'm not here all year, and my husband is not a gardener. So when I plant seeds or I grow stuff here, and then I get to autumn, half of them are dead. And it isn't necessarily through him not trying, but he's just not that interested. And so he doesn't have that same enthusiasm.
Yeah, you just think in a different way. Yeah.
And so I can't really develop the balcony as much as I would like, or have as many houseplants as I might like, because it would be an annual replenishing, having to get rid of
the balcony. Could you not have some irrigation per se?
Kind of, but I don't know how exactly. I don't think.
No, but almost like a computerized one.
Well,
or even one where you just you can then tell him to put it on for a certain amount of time, once a week. I don't know.
But it isn't
I
just
can see
the
that
watering.
you're thinking.
it isn't just the watering, it's the deadheading or it's the watching out for
I guess
bugs,
so, yeah.
because in this kind of climate there's so many more bugs, you know. And then it's knowing what to do if you do see bugs, and then it's knowing that something needs potting up or something needs feeding. Like, it's still a lot to do. If there's someone who's just not interested in it, you can't force someone to do it.
True.
I can't really develop the balcony as much as I want because it would be extremely expensive and upsetting every single year to do it, you know. I have to think of things that are really, really easy to grow.
Ellen, honestly.
Too much, really.
What are you like?
I just get my hands dirty when I get back to England.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're full of energy today, that is for sure. What's the time?
Thanks very much.
What's the time? 10 to 12, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 to 6 where you are.
You up?
10 to 6 where you are. You're not listening because you're reading something else. I can see you.
How'd you know?
Because your eyes were looking in the opposite direction.
Oh, I've had to sit through you putting your makeup on.
Yeah, but I
felt like I was on a TikTok tutorial.
I was multitasking. I could still talk at the same time. Have a nice evening, Michael.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
I don't know whether to do more work or just read a book. It's because it's dark. It's really,
Do whatever takes your fancy.
I know. But also, I don't know. I'm still chatting now. Sorry. I'll stop chatting.
Anyway.
I was just going to go into a whole nother episode of, like, you know, talking about working on the weekend and blah, blah, blah. But we don't need the extended disco mix of that again, do we?
No, we don't. We definitely
With 4
don't.
choruses of, like, I don't know what day off it is. Okay,
I think the winter is making you nuts, personally. Anyway, it has been a pleasure, and I will be seeing you very soon.
Corners, see you soon, darling. Thank you so much. Is that really the end? The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.